Okay, good evening everybody. We're going to do some X-plane flying tonight. So we are headed from Brisbane Airport to Evans Head. So the first thing we're going to do is get ourselves a flight plan sorted out. So I use the EFAS-NG flight planning software. It's very cool stuff here. Okay, so we choose our plane. It's a Pilatus Porter. We're going to go VFR tonight. Today, rather. So we're Brisbane through to Evans Head. We're going to cruise along at flight level 95 because we're going VFR. Okay, it looks like EFAS doesn't have Evans Head in its schedule, in its list of airports. So we won't worry about a flight plan with that one. We do it all in our GPS. So I use the RXP GTN 750, which you can see booting up there. It's a payware plugin, but it is a really full function GPS. A lot better than the GNS 430s that come in this plane.
TOS, system test OK.
Okay, so let's figure our way to Evans Head. Because we're going VFR, we don't really need to worry about too much, so we'll just plug in Evans Head and see. There it is there. So we have that. What we may do is just pop over to SkyVector and find a couple of waypoints along the way just to make it interesting. So Evans Head's just southeast of Ballina. So looking at my SkyVector, we might take the H62 airway out to Hugo and W760. Yeah, looks alright. So we're going to go Brisbane to Hugo, Hugo to Gamble over Casino, and then down to direct to Evans Head. This gives us a distance of 114 miles, about an hour's flight time. I'll add in Hugo here. Once we add in Hugo, we can load the airway. So the airway is H62 we're looking for. Let's see if we can find that. There we go, H62. exit point. So let's see if we can. Start of should be the Brisbane NDP. So let's go Bravo November. And we should be able to get our airway start off this. There we go, H62. And we're going to exit H62 at Hugo. So that loads the first airway. At Hugo, we're going to be switching to 76, Whiskey 760 airway. So Hugo. Load another airway, Whiskey 760, and we'll exit that at Gamble. And then from Gamble, we're just going to go direct Evans Head. So this is a very cool thing with GTN 750 is that it allows you to do really complicated flight plans very quickly. And yeah, gives you everything you want. So you can pull procedures, you know, if we wanted to. We could do a standard instrument departure out of here, so we could, for instance, do the Hugo 5 on runway 19, and that would give us an exit out to Hugo. But we're going VFR, so we're not going to worry about that. So our flight plan is loaded. We are flying with FsEconomy today, so we'll get our flight loaded up. We've got a pretty full plane, 11 passengers, plus some cargo. The real plane only actually carries 6. But FsEconomy is kind enough to give us 11 seats. They claim that it's a special seating arrangement just for FsEconomy. So I like to take advantage of that, make as much money as I can. Okay, so we'll get this thing started up. We've got battery on, generator on, fuel pump on. Give it some fuel. And she's up and running. Turn our igniters off. Pitot heat on. And avionics on. So yeah, beacon on here, just because we're going to taxi shortly. Now I normally fly on VATSIM. So we'll connect. We are connected there. So we just need to give them our flight plan. So we're going to be leaving YBBN for YEVD. Our alternate is going to be Ballina, which is YBNA. Cruising at flight level 95. This thing's a nice slow one at 130. Estimated time of departure. It's currently 8:40 Zulu. So we'll go 8:50. Give us some time to taxi out. Flight time is going to be around about an hour and 15. I don't think it'll be much more than that. And we've got about 2 hours 15 of fuel. So our route, we'll enter that in. Just had a little bit of a disconnection there, sorry about that, but yeah, so we have our flight plan organised. We are a VFR flight. We don't have any TCAS. And we are GPS equipped. We will send that flight plan off. And we're ready to get started. So let's have a quick look at the plane before we get moving out. This is the Pilatus PC-6. There's been a couple of versions of this one. This one is the most recent one that I found on the XPLANE forums for download. Really cool Air America skin there. If anybody's seen the movie, they'll recognise it. The Porter is a short takeoff and landing, generally a bush plane, but at the moment we're flying it around Australia, grinding up some money, trying to get a nice fast corporate turboprop. So this one's doing the job for the moment. Okay, so we'll announce to traffic. Let's just double check. Yeah, we've got nobody online for Edge ATC at the moment, so we'll call traffic and let them know we're taxiing at the runway 19. So we can use EFAS for at least one thing. At the moment it gives us a nice little ground map for taxiing, so that we don't get ourselves too lost. So we'll be taxiing out on Foxtrot 2. And then over to Alpha, so that we can then head out to runway 19. So the Porter is a freeware model. As I said, you can find the most updated version is available on the forums.xplane.org for download. It is actually a very cool plane for a freeware one. It's really nicely done. The only thing I don't like about it is the cockpit lighting doesn't work, which means I cannot fly a IFR. That's kind of a bummer. You have to use a flashlight to see things in the cockpit, but we can deal with that. Okay, so we've hit our hold point for the runway. We're going to get our altimeter set. So we're going to be climbing to 95,000 VFR flight level. And we'll climb at about 1,000 feet a minute until we get there. We get runway heading set to start with. So runway heading is going to be 190. And we will enter the runway and take off. So I'm kind of bummed. I downloaded some nice 3D scenery, also I thought, for Brisbane Airport, but it doesn't seem to want to load for me, so I'm going to have to tweak that. Try and figure out what's going on with that. So we're at 1,000 feet, we'll go into nav mode and vertical speed mode. Let this thing fly us off out of here. So for those who know Brisbane, that would be the Gateway Bridge, or the Gateway Bridges now, that you can see below us. Kind of crappy in XPLANE, there's a lot higher peak on those bridges in real life. And one of the cool things for us Aussies, I've got a Australian buildings and ground textures mod, and one of the things they've put in is, in large warehouse places, they put in a Bunnings warehouse hardware store, which looks a lot like a real Bunnings. They don't always turn up in logical places, but you get to see a Bunnings as you fly around, and everybody loves a good Bunnings visit. Disconnected from school box there, so I'll just reconnect that quickly. Reset that flight pattern. So some of the cool things we can do with the GTN 750, we obviously have our map. We can also bring up a traffic display. Unfortunately, I haven't been around when there's been a huge amount of traffic happening, so I haven't seen anything. But there is a VAT USA fly-in to the VATPAC Australian areas on the weekends. I'm hoping to get some flying in there and see some real traffic around. We have a terrain, well, not a radar, but simulated radar. If you're in the US, you can pull up charts because it uses the Garmin nav trainer, and they have charts available for a lot of the airports in the US. Unfortunately, here in Australia, we don't get charts in ours, but we can look up some info about the airports. We're headed for Evans Head. We can look up frequencies in the area. We can have a look at the rough arrivals. Not a great deal on this one because it is a very small airport. So as I said, we have our flight plan. We also have procedures, so we can choose if there were any arrivals into Evans Head. We can choose approaches into Evans Head, but again, being a small soft surface airport, there aren't any. We have our typical nearest, so we can find nearest airports, intersections, VORs and the like. We can check our nearest air traffic control. So you can see frequencies from Brisbane Centre, Flightwatch, etc. coming up at the moment. And our nearest ATIS. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. All accessible nice and quickly. One of the things I like is we have a VCalc for giving us messages for our top of descent. And something as slow as this seems like overkill. You can kind of do that maths in your head, but using faster jets, it's definitely a lot easier to have something working out for you, give you your top of descent points, so you can set your target altitude, set it you want your altitude above the waypoint or above mean sea level. You can set a vertical speed profile for your descent, and you can also set how far before the particular point you want it to do. So we can set a target altitude, let's say 2,000 feet above Evans Head, and a vertical speed profile of 1,000 feet per minute, and we want to be there at that altitude 3 nautical miles before, and that'll give us our top of descent is in about 54 minutes. And it also says if you want to do that from this point here, your flight rate will be that. Some of the other things we have, so we've got flight planning information, so we can pull up information on our flight plan. It currently has, there's our full flight plan there. It's a total of 117 nautical miles, gives us our estimated time of 1 hour and 10 at the current airspeed, an arrival of 23:57 Zulu. We can also pull out individual legs. Sorry, that's switching the flight plans. We can pull out an individual leg, and say for the Brisbane to Whizzer, it's 19 miles total. Going to take us about 11 minutes to complete that. We can do fuel planning, so we can measure our active fuel. Go to our cumulative, and we'll see that at this current climb rate and power setting, we are using about 40 gallons an hour. We would arrive with a 20-minute reserve, but that reserve is going to change once we get up to flight levels and get into cruise. So we'll come back and have a look at that and see whether my fuel planning was any good. We have a wind sensor, so it gives us what our indicated altitude is, what our density altitude is, wind directions, wind speeds, and the headwind component or tailwind component. So we've got a slight headwind at the moment. We have rain prediction. So rain is for telling whether or not you'll have sufficient GPS coverage at your destination to do GPS approaches, LNAV plus V, or the like. I don't believe this is simulating it to the point where you would ever not be able to do that. And you can plug in some flight timers for various things, and have countdown timers or a time on route stopwatch. Write your own messages to give you a particular times, and it even has a screen cleaning mode. So in the real unit, this means you can clean the screen without inadvertently pushing any buttons, but on this it does nothing. So we'll go back to our map view there, and we'll reduce our power back to a cruise setting. So the Pilatus generally likes to be, I find a good cruise, top of the green is about 52-53% torque. And I pull the props back to about 1850. We should probably have our strobes and nav lights on while we're flying. So for Australians who might be watching, you'll see that the landscape with this Australian sceneries pack is just a little bit more brown than the default. Seems to match up a little bit closer to real life colours, which is kind of cool. I always like to feel like I'm flying, especially if I'm flying areas where I have actually been. I can know what it should look like. It's nice to see colours that kind of reflect the real world. Well, it's looking like a exceedingly quiet night on VATSIM. There's a few pilots flying around, mainly between Sydney and Melbourne. so we likely won't even see anybody on our trip. But that's what you get flying GA. So we can also use EFAS-NG as a moving map, which again is quite handy. As you can see, we're currently flying just to the west of Bow Desert, because we don't actually have a flight plan because it didn't know where Evans Head was. We don't have our flight plan showing on here, but if we did have a flight plan active, we would be getting that showing up on our map as well. And this will also show us any VATSIM aircraft that may be around, so we can see up here to the northwest of Brisbane is Qantas 975 on his way in from Townsville to Brisbane. And then really not much happening. Looks like Sydney Centre appears to be up. Or Wollongong Centre, yeah, Daniel Martin's on. But at this point, nothing much in our area. Okay, so we just crossed Hugo. We're now onto the Whiskey 760 airway. That's going to take us down to Gamble. Gamble will be a required reporting point. And then we'll be headed for Evans Head. So I went looking for charts for Evans Head, and I'm not even sure that that's actually officially a runway, but FsEconomy has it in there. Air Australia doesn't provide a chart for it, so I've had to go and look it up on Google. Google Maps satellite view gets me a decent enough picture of it. I can see that we've got a main runway at 36, 18036, so we'll be using that one, and we'll have to do a pattern because we have no arrivals to get us in there smoothly, so we'll do an overhead pattern, standard circuit. As you can see, we made our turn over Larravale, and we're going to track down towards Casino to the Gamble intersection, and then from there we're heading roughly east-southeast, and we'll be looking for Evans Head, which is around this area somewhere, but it doesn't show on our map. might go and have a look at our fuel planning again and see whether I got it right. So yeah, showing us overhead at Evans Head with touch over an hour of reserve, which is good. Means I got my maths pretty much correct. So I'm still not sure what we're actually going to find when we get to Evans Head. I've never flown there before. The GTN 750 says it's a soft surface field, but at the same time Google Maps shows me a old asphalt runway, so we'll just have to go and have a look, see what we get. Either way, we know that the porter can pretty much get in and out of anywhere without a problem. So we can see we get our airspace warnings, etc. We can actually click on the airspace and see what the limits are. So we can see currently we are inside the Brisbane CTA, because we're between 8.5 and 12,500. So if we were having any air traffic online tonight, we would be able to switch over to them and get approach vectoring or flight following, etc. Brisbane Centre is normally 1247 on VATSIM, but tonight we're all up on our little lonesome. Oh, actually we do have MDE Centre. Let's see what MDE Centre covers. Not sure what they cover. Let's have a listen in and see if we're hearing anything anyway.
Quantum 141, you're in my airspace, Oceanics on the line. I'm on the Unicron 122 decimal 8. Quantum 141, in my airspace, Oceanic is not online. I'm on the Unicron 122 decimal 8.
So there we go. Looks like the Brisbane MD Centre appears to cover the Armidale FIR. I'm not sure if that covers me. It doesn't show on VATSIM or on EFAS, which is interesting. I might just message them and see what they tell us.
Papa X Brisbane Centre, Eric here in H1024.
Okay, Armidale is up. So let's check in.
Alpha Echo Golf Brisbane Centre, area Q&A, 1024. Alpha Echo Golf.
Okay, we're about 5 minutes out, so we will start our descent here. Down to 2,000 feet and do a circuit of Evans Head to see what it looks like. Just a little steeper than that. can see that Evans Head 638 airspace, which is 8,000 feet through to 100,000 feet. We shouldn't have a problem because we're going to go under 8,000 as we come through. So we're starting to see Evans Head up there in front of us. We'll get a bit of an idea and find out what the weather is there at the moment. I'm not getting any better information there. What we can do is use EFAS and get our nearest audible. That should get us something close.
Dew point, 9er. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. No significant clouds. QNH 1024. Altimeter 3024. Met report out. This is Yankee Lima India Sierra automated Met
So it
report.
looks like Lismore.
Time
That should be close enough. Get some wind anyway.
0 Zulu. Winds 350 degrees 5 knots. Temperature 10. Dew point 9er. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. No significant clouds.
See ya.
So we're a little bit high and fast. Missed my VNAV by a fair chunk. So I'm just going to extend our downwind pattern out, lose some altitude and then come on back in. Wow, weather got kind of soupy on us as we got down there, but that's right, we can see the ground, so we're still good.
Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead. Pull up. 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 Terrain ahead.
Alright, and we're down, and that terrain warning is crazy annoying. I think I set on the TORS B, and I really don't like that, so I think we might get rid of that. Okay, so I'll get those things shut down. And that'll be the end of our flight for the evening. Thanks for joining me. If you like it, give me a thumbs up down the bottom. And if you're interested, you can look for me on FsEconomy under the name Bonez, or the airline that I run, which is Aussie Expeditionary Flights. Have a great night.